Good evening and welcome to our April 8th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting of the Exeter Township School Board. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. Mr. Fike, would you please take roll call?
Julia Schaefer,
Here.
Dr. Ann Herring, Dr. Andrea Battler, Deborah Bloom, Joseph Cook,
Here.
John Fiddler,
Here.
Jason Mell,
Here. Travis
Odom,
Here.
Anne Marie Yoakum Grill.
Here.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 present, 3 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Fike. In addition to the 6 board members in attendance with Mr. Odom on the phone, we are joined at the board table by our solicitor, Sharon Montaigne, and members of the school district administration, including Dr. Christy Howler, superintendent, Mrs. Dawn Harris, assistant superintendent, Dr. Josh Hoyt, director of teaching and learning, Mrs. Diane Skornovaki, director of human resources, and Mr. Fike, who serves as our business administrator and board secretary. Also like to welcome the staff and administration who are in the audience this evening. Before we begin, I just want to announce that the Personnel Committee met in executive session on Thursday, March 26, 2026 to discuss administration contracts. Before we move on, I'd like to turn the mic over to Dr. Haller.
Thank you. I asked to be able to speak tonight just to give a couple shout outs to some of our students. On Sunday, March 15th, I had an opportunity to go to Exeter Senior High School to see the production of Mamma Mia. And while I've seen a lot of outstanding productions here in Exeter, I have to say that Mamma Mia by far was probably one of the best. I also have to say that Dr. Combs was outstanding. Her dance moves on Sunday were fantastic. But I'd like to congratulate the students who played the lead roles and just let our community know that they just did an outstanding job, and it was a really fun show to watch. So up behind me is a picture of the students in the cast. So that was a big weekend for us here in Exeter because I also got to see on Saturday, the day before, Adam Cook's production of A Story of Champions. And I've known Adam since he was 5 years old. He was a kindergarten student at Lorraine Elementary School when I was the principal there. So to see his progression over the years and see him as a senior getting ready to head off to college is just, I can't even express to you how exciting it is. If you don't know, Exeter's girls soccer team won the county championship in the fall. It was huge. It's the first time that we've done this, and Adam was alongside of them all the way. He was their announcer, and so he created a documentary about this very special team. And again, if you didn't know that it was a high school student that put this together, you honestly wouldn't know. It was such an outstanding production, and it's my understanding that it's getting a lot of views on YouTube. So again, I just like to congratulate Adam Cook and his parents, because that doesn't happen by accident. It also happens with a lot of parental help and support along the way. And I also like to thank the other administrators who came that Saturday to support Adam. I know that it meant a great deal to him. So congratulations to all those fabulous Exeter students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Heller. The meeting minutes from last month's board meeting are attached. Does anyone have any corrections, requests for board committee of the whole meeting for March 3rd, 2026, board special voting meeting for March 10th, 2026, or the board voting meeting from March 17th, 2026?
Yeah, Mrs. Schaefer, there may be some corrections on the March 17th voting meeting.
There are a few references to BCTC West, where I believe it's supposed to mean east. I think there's at least 3 references in there. So if administration could take a look at that and see which ones may need to be changed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. Okay, anybody else regarding meeting minutes? Okay. There are no amendments to tonight's agenda. And we will move on to the academic update, proposed program adoption for K through 6 math and ELA presentation.
So Dr. Hoyt and Mrs. Bush are going to be coming up to share this budget update, or this budget academic presentation. We do have a budget presentation later. It's going to be a great night. But I would like to thank Josh and Becky for all their hard work in this area. Going through 2 very large implementations in our 2 main subjects is very significant. We have not done this level of work in the district during the time that I have been here. So we believe that because of state legislation, and now that we have really dug into our data, received feedback from teachers, we believe that this is the right time to be able to move forward with these adoptions. So they're going to take you through both the programs, the reason why we're doing this, how we intend to do this, of course, the cost of it, and let you look at samples of the programs.
Testing. There we go. Yes, we are. All right, take 2. But we're excited to come to you tonight to talk about what we've been doing with math and ELA over the past, I want to say, almost 3 years that Becky and I have been working together. We actually came on board almost 3 years ago, so a lot of work's been put in place. So you're going to see that as part of the update tonight, there is going to be an agenda item for the potential approval of both of these resources. So there's going to be a greater breakdown of the cost within that agenda item that you'll see of how it's funded and cost per year and things like that. But as we get started here, we're going to start with math. As you know, that's pretty much the heart of where I've spent 25 years of my career is in math education. And regardless if you are talking about math or ELA or science or social studies, health and phys ed, the humanities, school counseling, anytime you take a look at your curriculum and you're looking at resources for that, you're thinking of 2 things. 1, you want to make sure that it's put into the place of a K-12 framework, and 2, that it's tied to your comprehensive plan. Within our district here, we've been spending a lot of time in making our comprehensive plan the gateway for which that we make decisions and collaborate with our stakeholders. And as you've heard us talk about our comprehensive plan, it's really tied to the 3 areas of the end in mind of graduation, mathematics performance at the end of grade 7, and performance at the end of grade 3 with regards to ELA. So everything that we talk about in this presentation has ties into those 2 things, regards to a K-12 framework and our comprehensive plan. Additionally, you've heard us talk a lot about the concept and the framework of the cycle of improvement, how this is a systemic cycle for which that you can engage in improvement, whether it's curriculum, instruction, assessment, staffing, whatever it may be. And this is a framework that our district takes on very seriously and uses it for whatever lens that we approach. So with regards to where we're at with curriculum, instruction, and assessment for math and ELA, we are in the process of the cycle of improvement where we've spent the last 15 months really assessing our needs. And when we take a look at those needs, we're taking a look at the 3 big things with regards to what's happening in schools with regards to instruction, curriculum, and assessment from that student achievement perspective. So the resource for math that you're going to hear us talk about tonight is something called Eureka Squared Math. one of the reasons why, as a district, we are recommending Eureka Squared Math is as we assessed our needs and we took a look at our current resource. Our current resource that we use, K-5, is investigations. And then if you think about Rifton, which is a 5-6 building, they switch from a resource of investigations and then go to a totally different product called CPM Math. As you recall, a year ago, we were using also CPM Math in our junior high school, and we decided to go with Big Ideas because that tied into what was occurring at the high school. So we started with the end in mind of that high school piece with our comprehensive plan, and now we're moving back towards what's happening in kindergarten. And one of the really important things about the math resource is that we did not want to look at anything that was K-5 because we did not want to create another transition of math specifically at Rifton where we went from one resource in 5th to a totally different resource in 6th to then a totally different set of resources in 7 through 12. So the ones that we looked at specifically were K-6. Our current resource investigations is very outdated. It lacks a tremendous coherence for mathematics instruction and pedagogy. It's very inconsistent in terms of expectations. Many of the assessments have had to be so tweaked to meet the state standards and the expectations at the end of grade level, as has the instruction. It specifically, although it will say it's correlated to the PA standards, it is not aligned. A lot of the language is very different, and a lot of the expectations are very different. And as we were working with the publisher last year, one, they were very surprised that, one, we were still using it, and secondly, they weren't even aware of anybody else still using it. And in conversation with them, they were basically telling us that this is something that's not going to be updated or supported on the back end anymore, and at any given time it could go away because they were coming out with a new resource. So regardless of resource, what we've done for the last year is we put in place, Becky and I, myself, these, and you've heard us talk about this at the last academic updates, were these K-6 curriculum team meetings where we had teachers from each building representing each grade level. So we had a democratic process here where we looked at the standards, the curriculum, the assessments, and what were the expectations at the end of that grade level. And once we went through that work, the goal was to create a common mathematical experience for students. One of the things that I'm very passionate about, in no matter which district I've been in or what role I've been in, is that I am a big believer that if a student attends one elementary school and then goes to that and stays in that elementary school and then goes to the junior high and senior high, they should have the exact same experience of a student who might move to each of our 3 elementaries and then go to Rifton. So with having 3 different elementary schools, it's really important to create that experience that creates that common framework. So that's what we did. And then what we did is we took a look at a product called Reveal Math, and then we also kind of took a look at what Investigation's new resource was. But we spent a lot of time digging into Eureka Squared after that. And what we have done in these curriculum team meetings, as we have completely dove into everything related to what are the expectations for kindergarten through 6th grade for mathematics, what do the assessments look like, are they aligned to the state standards, how does it compare with our current resource, what does the language look like in reference to Pennsylvania, and then we also created a transition plan from going from our current resource to the new resource. We also outlined a 3-year professional development plan because it is absolutely essential to not only do 1 year professional development on the implementation of a math program. In many of the districts I supported at my time at the intermediate unit, and I supported almost all 18 districts in the adoption of at least 1, in many cases 2 math programs. Many of them failed not because it was the math program, but because there was a lack of professional development and support in years 2 and 3. And there was an assumption that once you get that 1 year, you're good to go. So we are looking on how we're going to support teachers for a minimum of 3 years down the road with this resource. I also spent some time, because I had still my contacts from the IU and I was familiar with which districts were using Eureka Squared Math, and getting an opportunity to talk to them and collaborate with them as to what did they see after their years. And all the districts that I spoke to, and I actually was just given a presentation this morning from a district in Delaware County, was that they saw a significant increase in student achievement and growth after 3 years with the adoption, implementation, and professional development with Eureka Squared Math. So the teachers here are the ones that have done a lot of the work with Becky and I and Mr. Wilczek as we met with them, because each of these curriculum meetings were 3-hour meetings. And they were very intensive. We had a lot of honest conversations, and it was through their decision-making that drove the potential adoption of this resource. So upon board approval with this tonight, or to move forward to the voting meeting, I mean, we would, one of the things that's exciting about this is if we get this approved at the voting meeting, Eureka Squared is going to give us access immediately to the resources. That would allow us to do a lot of the front-end things that take some time to figure out, like onboarding all the students and teachers into their technological dashboard, getting idea of what it's going to look like from the district lens. What are some things that we can do to prepare so that we hit the ground running right away from day one? Additionally, we, in a previous board meeting using Ready to Learn money, you approved graciously the idea of bringing in a trainer from Eureka Squared, and the teachers are going to select one of 3 specific dates over the summer to participate in a full 6-hour day with one of the math trainers to get an overview of the product, the resources, and the lessons with Eureka Squared. And then they will have an additional day where they're going to be able to be with their team members, get acclimated with the resources, and start to plan the first module out. And then additionally, we're in that funky stage in the school year where we're trying to finish up the current year, but heavily planning for the next year. So we're already talking about professional development for next year on some of those days, now that the calendar was approved, and targeting some specific dates for professional development related to mathematics next year. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Becky for ELA, and then what we're going to do is we have what it's going to look like. So we'll explain what it looks like from the digital side of things, and we also have physical resources to pass around for you.
That always happens to me whenever I follow Josh. Good evening, everybody. I'm here tonight to talk with you a little bit about Arts and Letters, which is the ELA program that we have that are proposing to this evening. Much like what Josh was talking with you about in the math lens, through the math lens, our ELA program that our resource needs of our teachers and our students. It also lacks coherence and consistency across our 3 buildings as well as across our classrooms, and it is not aligned with our Pennsylvania standards either. I call it a resource because it is not a program. We do not have an ELA program right now for comprehension. And it is a resource because it is a collection of materials that our teachers have on hand that they're able to use and put together in order to help kids have a love of reading and build a literacy-rich classroom. One of the things that it also does not do is meet our current legislation requirements. And this is something we have been talking about for years now. Basically, what's happening in Pennsylvania now, as all of you are very aware, is that our state is looking to improve literacy outcomes, and it is focusing specifically on grades, students in grades K through 3. And the legislation requirements are saying to the state of Pennsylvania that we are going to need to shift towards structured literacy approach. And structured literacy, it's something we've talked about with you before, but I also want to make sure I reiterate what it is tonight. It's an approach grounded in the science of reading. What the science of reading is over 50 years worth of research that explains how your brain learns to read, because it is not a natural process like speaking is. So what structured literacy does is it applies all of that science, all of that cognitive science that talks about how your brain learns to read in instructional practices. And it is explicit, which means it is direct and clear, and it teaches kids what they should be doing within the context of reading. It's systematic, which means it is sequential and it follows a plan. It's cumulative, which means that plan builds across the developmental stages of students' lives and careers in school. And it's also diagnostic, which means that it responds to the needs of the students who teachers are working with. Our resource right now does not meet the legislation requirements. It is not systematic, it is not cumulative, it is not sequential. So what we're proposing is the program called Arts and Letters, which does meet all of those requirements. It is a knowledge building program that also focuses on skills for reading, writing, listening, and speaking. It also is aligned to the Pennsylvania standards, and it will provide a roadmap for our teachers so that every single one of them is across all of the buildings in the district, teaching our kids the same content. It's also very rich in social studies, science, art, and literature. So as we're building that knowledge across all of the buildings in our district, we're also growing their skills in reading. Whenever you have a shift in instruction, you want a strong plan so that our teachers are prepared so that they can also support our students. One of the things that we're doing, as Dr. Hoyt talked about earlier, was that we are pulling teachers together. We have a representative from each of the buildings also working on an ELA team. We've been working with our teachers and very closely with 5-6 this year, and I'll explain a little bit more to you about that later, where we're talking with our teachers about why this shift is happening, why it's important, and also we've pulled the IU in order to help train our teachers within those groups on the structured literacy and how the standards and the structured literacy approach ties in to this program. Also, we've been working very closely with the Great Minds Company who developed Arts and Letters. They have graciously come into our district 3 times free of charge. One of those times, they have worked with our administrative team and some of our reading specialists to share with us how this program meets the needs of those students in our district and the needs that we've identified through our cycle of improvement. They've also come in to meet with our administrators and some of the teachers who are the reading specialists and walked us through what a lesson structure looks like and how that lesson structure is going to meet the needs of our students. And then they came back for a 3rd time to meet with our 5th and 6th grade teams and reading specialists and gifted support teachers and ESL teachers to walk them through the lesson and answer any of their questions. So the company has been a very strong support for us. Additionally, we put together an implementation team where one reading specialist in every one of the buildings came together and met with me, and we evaluated the program based on the curriculum evaluation guidelines set forth by the Reading League, which is a very well-known reading advocate across all of the United States. It's very well known. And we were able to look through the components of the program together and evaluate if it was going to meet the needs of our community of learners. Because just because it meets the science of reading and the structured literacy standards does not mean that it's right for Exeter. This program is based on our needs assessment. Not to mention, we have that 3-year professional development program or plan in place that we would like to follow through with. One of the other things that we did for preparing for Arts and Letters is we were able to reach out to other school districts. I spoke to an administrator from the Bristol School District, as well as we met with Parkland, who is implementing this year, and they were able to give us some feedback on how their implementation is going and talk with us about it. So we feel as though we've been very transparent, worked together with our teams of teachers, worked with our reading specialists, worked with our administration, so that we can be sure that this is the right program for our district. So our implementation, what we are asking for is a little bit different for math. It actually is spread across 2 years rather than 1 year. Because Josh is requesting a math implementation for kindergarten through 6th grade next year, we didn't find that it would be in the best interest of our teachers or our students to do 2 full implementations at one time. I guess you could probably imagine how that would be difficult, especially through the lens of professional development and making sure that we have an effective implementation. So for those K-4 teachers who teach all of the subjects all day long, we would like to take that implementation into next year. Where we want to start is with the 5-6 teachers who work in content areas rather than teach every subject area. So what we would like to do is implement in the 5-6 building next year, where our teams will also have access to that digital platform and the physical materials. They would have the same professional development plan as what Josh explained during math, 1 day of kind of a kickoff to the program, learning how to launch it, learning how to teach those instructional practices, and then another day of team planning and getting familiar with the materials. And then for the 26-27 school year, they would have that ongoing professional development where they can look at the lessons ahead of time and really plan for the modules that the program has within it. I talked to you a little bit about the state legislation earlier and how we are moving in the direction of structured literacy through Acts 135 and 47. What Act 135 did is established a reading council last year. That reading council laid out a list of intervention resources, curriculum materials, and it also included some universal screeners and professional learning resources for teachers. Following that legislative piece in 2025 came Act 47, and what Act 47 did was expand upon what Act 135 did. So because Act 47 is now giving us requirements and a timeline in order to set that structured literacy in place for K through 3, we have until 2027 to adopt an evidence-based program. Because Arts and Letters is an evidence-based program, and because we would like to stagger the implementation for math and ELA, we would then be meeting the state legislation by implementing the K-4 in the 27-28 school year. Throughout next year, however, we would let them math for a long time because we know that they have to get that program kicked off, but we would sprinkle in the structured literacy professional development so that they continue to learn about that program. And then we would mirror the math implementation that school year for our teachers by providing what we did for the 5-6 teachers, and that would be that 1 full day of training, that 1 full day of planning and materials, and then that ongoing professional development throughout the school year.
All right, so, just to give some other context too, to piggyback off Becky there, is that the reason why we would be looking at implementing ELA in 5-6 and also math in 5-6 next year is because at Rifton they departmentalize. So that means teachers who teach math, they do not teach reading. So there's not going to be any intersections with regards to that. The other reason from a fiscal perspective, as you can see, is that we are trying to from a fiduciary perspective, stagger those licenses so that these two would not be up at the same time upon the conclusion of their multi-year license, so that it would not be as significant on the budget and would be spread out over the course of 2 different fiscal years. So with regards to the cost and licensing, and again, you'll see when it's on the approval there's a much greater breakdown with regards to funding and such. But I do want to start off and say by this resource, or both resources, are both from the company Great Minds. So they are from the same publishing source. Because of that and what we were able to negotiate, by doing what we did, we actually saved $125,000, which you'll see in the breakdown of costs there. But both of these are looking at 4-year licenses. For the cost for math would be $393,960. And unlike with a car or a home, you don't get to pay that per year. You are required to pay everything up front. But that means you're also, one of the things where there is some savings in this, and they've already told us this, is that they already told us that shipping is going to increase significantly because of what's going on globally. So we are locked into what they've given to us shipping. So for the next 4 years, we would be locked in there. The first year in both resources is a heavy upfront cost, and that's because you are getting all of the teacher materials in conjunction with the student materials. Additionally, the teachers for math are also getting manipulative kits, things like analog clocks, number frames, base 10 manipulatives, things that are unique and required as part of the resource itself. Following that each year, then the cost is associated with the consumables that the students receive. So in kindergarten, every student receives a consumable per module. In some grades, there are 6 modules. In other grades, there are 7. In other grades, there are 5. So in some cases, throughout the course of the year, a kindergarten student, by the end of the year, is going to have 6 mini workbooks, 6 consumables. And then as they go up in grades 1 through 6, every student has 2 consumables per module. So if there's 6 modules, a student actually has 12 consumables, 12 workbooks. One of them is what's called the Apply book, which is something that they take home as part of practice at home. And there is another workbook that is what's called the practice book per se, and that's the one that will stay in school. So that's one of the reasons why there is a significant cost with that. As a person in math, it's essential for kids to be writing math and not doing all their math on the computer. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, technology is wonderful, but the experience of reading and writing math is an essential skill in school, and they are intentional. The reason why there's so many workbooks and not one is because one of the biggest mistakes that other resources make is that they give the kid one workbook for the year. They ask them to answer all these questions. Most kids write in size 35 font, and they give them this much space to do their work, and then they wonder why they struggle. So with the workbooks here, they're giving them a lot more space, which gives them a lot more time to scaffold and solve problems. In addition to the physical resources, there are also an online component. So all of the resources and such are online for the teacher. Everything, it comes with all of the lesson resources, the slide decks, all of the practice problems, digital manipulatives and such. So as you've seen me the last 3 years come with textbooks, all of them now come with a physical component and a digital component. So that's why the cost of this is for the physical/digital student licenses, but also for the teacher. The way this would then work at the conclusion of 4 years, then we would then come back together, but the cost would be substantially less because we would only need to re-up the consumables. We would not need new teacher materials and things like that. So anytime you implement a brand new elementary math and ELA resource, there's a significant upfront cost because of all the supplies and resources that you need to be able to come to them. Becky was also able to get, as she mentioned, free professional development with this. And in addition, we did negotiate cheaper shipping, and we also got significant discounts again because one, it's the same resource, and two, we like to play ball when it comes to money as well. We don't just take the first offer. So they've been a great company to work with. And the fact that they're willing to do a lot of things for us like this, and I know them through working with other districts, they're a very reputable company. Additionally, as we move forward with this too, one of the reasons to think about, one of the high marks of Eureka Squared is the parent component. Has a tremendous amount of resources for families and how to support their kids as home well. So But we're going to pass around the physical samples for you. I'm going to have Sheldon bring up what it looks like on the online piece. I will be sending to the board a unique login and password for both of these resources for you. The reason why we're not doing that publicly is because you will get access to all of the exams and tests that come with it, and we don't want those to go out. But I do have screenshots to set up to you how to navigate it so that you can see it as well. But this is how we worked with the teachers, is the fact that they gave us access to the entire curriculum resources digitally for the past year, so that we could get in and look at everything by grade and look at everything by lesson and assessments as well. So the other really neat feature about this is that when a teacher gets access to this, not only do they get access to their grade level, they get access to all grade levels. So they have the ability to have even greater resources for differentiation in the classroom. That's what's been the greatest struggle with investigations right now, is that we've had to do so much supplementing because our kids are all in different places for mathematics. It's become extremely challenging. And there's so many different authentic resources being used within the classroom to support the kids. This comes with a very cohesive framework to support that. So everything that you see here is that the way Eureka Squared works is it's broken down by grade level in here, and then by modules. Modules you think of as really large units, and then within the units, there are topics. And then within those topics, there are a series of lessons. And all of the resources that are in there that are categorized for the teachers, they can be downloaded as PowerPoints, PDFs, but they can also be brought up digitally and used to work with students in whole group, small group, in every different facet. We're also supporting and working with special education, gifted, ESL as well for access to the program, and they will be a part of the professional development, and we will work with them to support any of the kids in the district as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Becky here just to, she could show you again. You're going to see there's very similarities here between what math looks like and then what ELA looks like.
As Sheldon logs into ELA, what you are going to notice is, because it is the digital component from the same company, they mirror one another. That is going to make this extremely friendly for our teachers to go back and forth between the different digital platforms, because they are built exactly the same way. When you're looking at it from an ELA standpoint, there are not 6 modules, there are 4 modules across a school year. Each of the modules is built on a topic. This is kindergarten module 1, it is called the 5 senses. As I said, that this resource is very much integrated with science, social studies, art, and literature. So throughout each of these modules, you are going to see how students can build knowledge. Each of the arcs underneath the modules represent a unit, like a unit of study, using a specific text. And the texts are layered across each of the lessons and the arcs, so that kids are getting a volume of reading, and they're layered between poetry, articles, literature, as well as sometimes there's music involved. So one of the things that the company has done for us is, underneath each of the drop downs for the lessons within that book, there are components that mirror what is in the teach book. Lesson slides for teachers to navigate through as they're teaching the lesson with students. You're also going to find knowledge cards with vocabulary for the teachers, and all of these components can also be downloaded, as Josh was referring to before with math. As I said, both of the platforms are from the same company, so the teachers will be able to see the drop downs with all of those different categories. There's also an assessment tab and a report tab at the top, so that teachers can take a look at student data within the system, and they're able to also give some of the assessments digitally depending on the grade level.
So what we are passing around right now is, because there are so many resources that come with this, is that we chose 3 grades. Kindergarten is always unique. So you are seeing what the very first module, this is just the first module only. There, again, for each module, the teacher gets basically a teacher's manual per module, and workbooks. So you're seeing kindergarten, third grade, and fifth grade coming around for both of those. But lastly, as far as funding goes, the way we are looking at this is through a combination. For this year, there was fund balance that was allocated towards student licensing. So that is from 25-26 funded items. And additionally, we're using ready-to-learn money as well as part of that to fund this. And what we would be doing is this would allow us to purchase both programs or resources. Math would be implemented K-6 next year along with ELA 5-6. And then what Great Minds is allowing us to do is to purchase it now, but delay the start of the licensing for K-4 until the following year. So we're actually buying ahead, and this allows us to save money in the future. Again, it's a significant upfront cost, but just know that if we went year to year with a license, we would not get any of those discounts, and it would be a much more expensive resource with regards to that. So I understand that this is a large purchase. I'm a taxpayer too. I live here, but this is what's best for our students. This is what's best for our teachers, and this is what's best for the families in this district from a math and ELA perspective. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, I just want to make a correction. It's not 25-26 fund balance. In 22-23, we started the search and knew what the cost would be, or roughly what the cost. I think at that time they had new math series, 350,000, K-6, new reading series, 60,000. 5-6 new reading series, K-4, 505 for a total of 915. That money was set aside as a committed fund balance. It's not part of the regular.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. What I meant was that
So
we
that
would
was
be spending.
22-23. It's been sitting there,
Yeah.
just like we committed fund balance to redo the turf this last
Right.
year. We used that. So.
I meant we were spending it in 25-26.
Okay.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
not the business manager. You know, I'm not even the business manager in my house, so that's okay. Yeah.
All right.
So while they're coming around, if there are any questions, which I'm sure there are, we will be happy to answer those.
I've got a question. You talked about the lack of coherence that our current resources, not program, different classrooms learning different shades of gray, if you will, and then everybody comes together at Rifton, and you've got kind of a disparate learning experience. How long have we had that sort of drifting experience for the kids without the coherence?
Well, when I say that it's the resource lacks the coherence, what the teachers are doing in the classroom is they're putting in their best to keep things coherent. So I mean, we've been working together to try to do those things. I cannot tell you off the top of my head when exactly this resource was purchased. I know it was a long time ago, but you know, because it did not meet those standards, it did require us to, one, try to supplement things, but because every classroom is different with regards to the needs of the students, and we do ask our teachers to balance the need between differentiating for our students, but also making sure they're getting access to grade level content with the hope of mastery, there is going to be a little bit of variance with regards to that because of that. Because if everybody's teaching the exact same thing on the exact same day, the exact same way, you're actually going to get worse results. Whereas this is just giving teachers more of a quote unquote library to pull from that is much more cohesive than pulling things from way out here and way out there and way out there without maybe not necessarily getting all the guidance that's needed there. So this provides them with that opportunity to have still some flexibility and choice, but in a much more restricted environment.
Okay. So it's been some years since we've done something like this.
I would say
Some number of years.
I would say at least 10.
Okay, that's
and
what I was
probably
looking
more.
for.
Yes.
Okay. Can you establish a relationship between that 10-year experience that you've described and the results, particularly standardized test results, which I've now seen for 7 years, and we got some green and we got some red. But can you establish, if not necessarily a cause and effect relationship, at least a correlation between what we had and the scores that our kids got?
I mean, absolutely. When you have, and it, the comment that when they get to Riften, they're seeing differences, that was happening in each grade level as well because of that. And no fault of the own, it's just kids are in different places right now. And by not having necessarily a primary aligned resource, when you are pulling different supplemental resources, sometimes that language with how the questions are asked might be different. The strategy, the way an algorithm is introduced, all those types of things have these little differences. And the way the brain is developing mathematics there, it's very language-based for math, but it's also trying to find strategies to solve problems. And when there isn't a quote-unquote uniformity to that, that's going to have an impact and an influence on student scores. But to say that that's what caused it, I would disagree. I would just say it wasn't the root cause. It was certainly a part of it. There's a number of reasons for
That's
that.
why I said,
yes.
if you can't establish a cause and effect,
Yeah.
but there is a correlation.
Yeah, but I can also say that there's a correlation to putting this resource in place with uniformity and with structure and with checks and balances and professional development and a commitment that in 3 years, the districts saw significant movements in both growth and achievement. And I'm the one district that and I'll happily share the results, I just got it this morning, is a very high-performing district in the state of Pennsylvania who does very well with achievement, but their students weren't growing. And they put this into place, and all students were growing. Their gifted learners were growing, their students who are expected to be proficient were growing, and their students who are not expected to be proficient were growing as well.
If I could jump in here, Mr. Fiddler, just to also break it down, having been here for a while, COVID didn't help, right? Like, COVID has had a significant impact on student results, academic results over the last couple of years. I mean, you Google it, you can see everybody's talking about the fact that it's taking a long time for students to recover. Here in Exeter, that we are no different. That was certainly a factor for us. But as Josh started the presentation with, one of the reasons why we're looking at moving away from math investigations, one was because it was not supported, but two, because it wasn't aligned to Pennsylvania standards. When Pennsylvania decided to adopt the Common Core, they didn't do it like other states where they adopted the Common Core. They decided to take the Common Core and then take Pennsylvania standards and mesh them all together. And there are no programs that are aligned to that, because programs, resources are typically aligned to states that do whole state adoptions. So already teachers in Pennsylvania, whether it's Exeter or anywhere else, are going to be taking their resource, as Becky said, and that's simply what it is, and then typically having to supplement it. I would also strongly suggest that if someone were to do a research study here, as Josh also mentioned, the fact that we did not have cohesiveness or smooth transitions from K through 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, then 9, 12 is extremely detrimental to our students in math. One of the things that, again, when you look at why students aren't successful in standardized assessments is because of academic language. And that is a barrier, and different programs also sometimes use different language, and it's not aligned to what state expectations are for standardized tests. the math assessment, Exeter, years ago, prior to the Common Core coming in, or PA Core, was very, very successful in math. We had some of the highest scores in the area, and I don't think our students have gotten worse. I think the standards have changed significantly, and for those of us who are educators, the math test is not a math test anymore. It's a reading assessment that has a math. So when your students struggle with reading, and it's essentially all these word problems, they're trying to read it, figure out what they're doing, do the math. And now we, have added another layer to that by putting that online for kids. It creates a lot of challenges for kids, and there is something about test anxiety. So I think there's a lot of factors. I think there's a lot of variables when we are having 9-year-olds take a test online. And that doesn't mean they can't do the work in the classroom. It just means that sometimes they test differently. So we believe that it is time to change the program for various reasons. Our teachers have been asking for this for years, even when I was a building principal. And I know you're probably going to say, well, Chrissy, if you knew that, why didn't you make that change when you first became superintendent? And to be honest, I think it's really important that when you step into a new role, that you evaluate what you have, and you make decisions based on data that you're presented with. And the other piece of it is that you have a team that you believe has the capacity to be able to implement a significant change like this. Because, as again Josh said, part of a success of any implementation and it taking root and sticking and building collective efficacy among your staff is ensuring that your teachers have support, and that support is got to come from us, from the building principals, and the teachers have to know that we're going to work alongside of them to make this a success. There will be growing pains with this. With any significant implementation, there's always an implementation slide. So I don't anticipate that we're going to put this in next year and we're going to be all green. And I don't want to put that additional pressure on our teachers, because God only knows. I mean, they're putting so much pressure on themselves, and they've been great. I've sat in a couple of the meetings and popped in with them, and they have looked at these resources up and down. They've done a significant amount of work looking at the assessments, being very vulnerable and having very honest conversations about what they feel comfortable with, what they don't feel comfortable with. And if we would have asked them to do a K-6 implementation in math and reading, some of them were like, let's do it tomorrow. It was us who were more so like, that's not going to work for you. This is a lot of work. So it's ambitious already to do math next year and reading the following. But we also don't believe that it would be, we can't delay either one, because one's math isn't going to be there, and reading the state has put in timelines. So we really had to keep moving, but because we also really respect our teachers, we also wanted to be able to space it out to be able to give them the support that we know that they need and deserve to make this a go. So hopefully that answers some of your questions, or your next 5.
I don't have 5 more, but I just want to make a brief statement. It sounds to me, based on your presentation, and we met, just in the interest of full disclosure, we met yesterday as part of the Education Committee, and you gave me much the same presentation. So now I've heard it twice, and I'm learning.
Yeah, I didn't make you sign an NDA, so.
It sounds to me that what this program will do is to give our students and our teachers better tools so that the kids learn more and learn better. Is that a fair?
That's a very fair assessment. Dr. Heller said it very well. I just also want the board to know too that the reason You might ask, well, Josh, you've been here 3 years. Why didn't you do this right away? What the heck were you doing? Well, as you can see, there's the cost here. One, we want to be very responsible, but two, I had to get an opportunity to get a gauge and listen and learn and understand what was going on. But then as you look at our comprehensive plan and you're thinking about that graduation thing, a graduation piece, one of the most effective models in schools is to think of the lens of UBD, which is understanding by design, where you think about the end in mind. And our end in mind is graduation, which is our secondary programming, which is why that's where we took a look at how can we create a framework 6 to 12 or 7 to 12 first, that's what we did a year and a half ago through the great work of Dr. Al Carroll working with our language arts and math departments there. And we started with new, taking a look at the standards, taking a look at the expectations and putting in resources there. So then we could take a look at and moving forward where Becky and I could then put our work in for elementary. As far as tools go, I mean, to say that the teachers have been using a Swiss Army knife for the past couple of years would be an understatement. I mean, it's basically been like a Temu Swiss Army knife. It's because there's just been so much stuff out there, and sometimes it's very hard to vet what's really good and not with regards to math. But again, the reading assessment is such a critical component because a lot of what investigations, where they say they're aligned to the skill, but it's like, Jack's got 3 apples and Diane's got 4 sets. How many total apples are there? But the PSSA is asking for a story about Jack and Diane and their apples and sets. And that, you might laugh, but that's the biggest difference between the two, is that by the time some kids get done reading the math problem, they felt like they've read the Odyssey. And they're like, what the heck is this even asking? So that's a lot of the work the teachers are doing, are trying to get kids to read, decode, and comprehend what the heck is this even asking. So to address, I just want the board to be aware of that we really started with a plan that this knew was going to take years to do. It's starting at the end, going back with it, and how the reading component ties in, because these 2 resources use common language too. So there's a strategy called Notice and Wonder that's used in trying to approach a text and apply something called close reading to a story, that kids are also going to take and use that same skill when they're trying to solve the problem about Jack and Diane. So this is that they're going to get not only a tool for math to help them with math programs, but the ELA component is like having this multi-tool for them that they're going to be able to approach algorithm, procedural understanding, conceptual understanding, and then this text component and with text complexity to solve the problems.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I'm not going to sing Jack and Diane either, so
Okay.
sorry.
I was waiting for that, yeah.
Sometimes I do think John Cougar Mellencamp wrote some of the questions, so I'm not going to lie.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Thanks for all the time and effort, and obviously your passion.
All right, thank you.
Very forefront. No one has signed up for public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone else who wishes to come up and speak? Hearing none, we'll move on to committees. Mr. Fiddler, Education.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Item A is just for information, field trips within the 60-mile radius. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move to item B, which will require action by the board at the next meeting, field trips beyond the 60-mile radius. There are 3 of them. Any questions?
I just have a comment, or maybe a question. So it does say here that the kids will miss 3 days of school for visiting Kalahari for the orchestra and 1 choir student. Is that a school exempt?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a school trip, yep.
Okay, all right. And just moving forward, if just we could be a little more thoughtful, if we could put the cost and also how that is being funded through the budget with these items for the voting meeting.
No problem.
They're also going to come to talk about their next thing too. They're going to come to the next debate meeting. Oh, wonderful. Great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Hoyt pointed out that the in item number 3, the kids from 4th grade will be here at the next meeting to talk about their, is it the Connects program?
Yeah, they were number 1 in the county.
Aha, number 1. Okay. I like number 1. Okay, item C, junior high school social studies 6-year license purchase. This will be voted on at the next meeting. Would that be you again, Josh?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. So again, textbooks here, the junior high social studies current resource license is up. And again, because we use a combination of the physical and digital licenses, which tie in for our one-to-one initiative with the use of the Chromebook, where students then get access to the digital textbook via, which pushes out through Clever and Schoology through our LMS, our learning management system. Dr. Al Carroll worked with Mrs. JB in the junior high to take a look at various resources moving forward. This was something I did budget for. And assuming the budget, this is all contingent as well upon the budget passing, because this would be for next year's funds. But they decided to go with basically the updated edition of the resource they're currently using. They do teach U.S. history in grade 8 and world history in grade 7. I do have physical textbooks here to pass around for you to see. The reason why you see that there's 2 separate line items per grade level is because what the teachers do to avoid providing scoliosis to the students is to keep a classed physical book in the school and allow the the Chromebook has the digital component. So that's why you see that there's a difference in some of those prices there. So one is a combination of the physical / digital license. That's what the $142.26 represents. And then the $108 is just for a digital license. Through harsh negotiations by Dr. Alcaro, he reduced shipping by 5% and also was able to negotiate free professional development. And this, just to provide clarity, is a 6-year license. And when you talk about all these year licenses, one of the things that my team and works with Mrs. Harrison, Dr. Howard, to give her updates, and Mr. Fike as well, is that we try to forecast out 7-8 years in advance to stagger licenses so that it's not just a random number of years we pick. We're trying to stagger those out in the future again so that it is not a heavy burden on the budget when it comes to these licenses as well.
Thank you, Dr. Hoyt. Any questions for Dr. Hoyt? All right. We move on to item D, which is the some more detail about the presentation that Josh and Becky Bush gave. You'll see right smack in the middle of the page is the final cost, $917,074. And I would say that before we react with a sense of sticker shock, not too long ago, this board approved a motion to spend $28 million to bring up to date buildings, facilities, pieces of equipment that previous administrations and boards had not fully taken care of. And it came to this board to do that. So I think if we can spend $28 million on the physical plant in which our teachers teach and our students learn, I think just under $1 million for this one-time expense that's going to last 4 years, is the license, is certainly reasonable. So that's my 2 cents. But are there any questions about the motion, which I should read, I guess, for the record? It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the purchase of 4-year teacher-student licenses for K-6 math and K-6 ELA curricular resources and books. The books' digital licenses will be purchased with budgeted funds from 2025 to 2026 through a combination of the general budget and the Ready to Learn grant. Parens note the publisher gave us reductions in all licenses, professional development, and shipping handling costs since the first quote. The total amount for both licenses is, as I said, $917,074. The total amount of discounts is, as Josh pointed out, $125,201. So we will move that item ahead to the next meeting.
Sorry, Mr. Fiddler, just for clarification.
Sure.
Was this, this mentions 2025 to 26. Mr. Feig, was this what you were talking about, where it's not attributed to that general fund?
Correct. It's in a committed fund balance that we committed years ago.
Okay.
Similar to like we put in the turf replacement right away, so we had the money down the road, so we knew we'd have to replace the turf.
Okay.
You know.
So do we need to change the wording for the voting meeting then? Is that what we're suggesting? We'll change, okay.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right,
change.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mel. All right, moving on to I think items E through H, if I'm not mistaken, fall under the bailiwick of Mrs. Harris. So I wonder if I could just turn it over to you, Dawn, to just give a brief description of what these various agreements are.
You sure can.
Thank you.
So for item E, our Lakeside Global Institute license agreement, that is a renewal of our agreement to have a certified trauma trainer on staff. If you recall, that's Ashley Reinhardt, our social worker. And if you recall, trauma training is mandated in state law for all of our staff. So we certify Ashley to take care of that for us, and this is re-upping her training license. This is an annual renewal.
So this is a train the trainer.
Train the trainer. Yep, you got it. Item F is our renewal of our Lakeside agreement. We've been working with Lakeside for several years now. They provide services for our students in special education who require instruction in social skills, coping skills, and self-regulation. The contract remains largely the same, and thank the Lord, the staffing has remained consistent, so we've been able to develop relationships between our students and that particular set of staff. A slight increase in the contract, which is a pretty normal increase. It was between 3 and 3.5% increase overall in the contract. Chief Negotiator Leonard has negotiated that contract in the past and gotten us a great deal to start with, so we are in good shape in terms of that. Item G is our special education plan, which you will see us do every 3 years for the state. The special education plan is not like the district's comprehensive plan. So the district's comprehensive plan is very goal and activity driven. The special education plan over time has become essentially a compliance report. And if you open it up and look at it, you'll see that it is largely a report of the facilities that we have available for our special education students, the number of classrooms, the number of students on each type of caseload, the types of supports and caseloads that we have available in the district, the out-of-district services that we utilize, etc. And most unfortunately, the plan requires us to use very old data in developing any of the action pieces that you see in there. So you'll see that the data that they required us to use is actually from our last compliance monitoring. So it's from like 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021 school year. So not really relevant to anything that we're doing right now. Those were corrective things that we did many, many, many years ago. And we're just kind of reporting on them now in this plan. There's the plan, the special education plan, and the corrective action monitoring cycle in the state is not in sync. And for years, they have tried to get it in sync, and I'm not sure what the bugaboo is in the system, but as you can see, it clearly is not. So we complete this plan and we submit it, and it requires board approval for that. So we're obviously not doing a presentation on that piece, but I thought I would seize the opportunity to do a different type of presentation at our voting meeting. Two of our special education supervisors, Trish Seifert and Jess Kaiser, were selected to do poster presentations at the statewide special education conference. And so they did that, and I am inviting them to the voting meeting to do those poster presentations for all of you. They did one on our development of a continuum of services for students with autism in the district. You hear me talk a lot about how those numbers have increased over time. We've done a tremendous amount of work on developing those programs and services here in the district over the last 6 years. And they got the opportunity to present at the statewide conference on that. The other one is our unified sports program that they presented on. So currently we have unified bocce and unified track and field, and they were able to do poster presentation and present to their peers on what we needed to do to get those programs up and running and how we are building them and growing them and making them successful. They're not presenting tonight because they are at the annual Annie Sullivan Awards ceremony over at the BCIU. And I will be asking them to bring along our Annie Sullivan nominee to the voting meeting so we can also honor her. If you recall, that's kind of a tradition that we have here. Whether they win or not doesn't matter. They are our winner, so we like to celebrate them. We did nominate this year Mrs. Jane Rance. Jane Rance has been a substitute for many years here. But she very specifically substitutes and does long-term substitutes in our special education classrooms for our special education teachers, which can be really tough shoes to fill because it requires a lot of expertise and knowledge and problem solving and, a lot of skills. She is a retiree. She is a gem. I won't steal their thunder. I will let them present to you all of the great things that they want to say about her. So I won't do that now. But so those will be the three things that we'll bring to you at the voting meeting around that conversation around special education. The other thing I wanted to say, Mr. Fiddler, before I do the other item about the special education plan is I said this plan isn't super helpful to districts in terms of planning for your programs. And so the student services team 2 years ago made our own plan. And so we have our own 5-year plan that exists within the department, because what we know is that teachers do really well when they can see the road ahead of them and they know where they're going and they know what training they're going to get and they know where they're going to become experts and the things that they're going to learn about, right? So we created that plan 2 years ago, rolled it out to administrators, rolled it out to the teaching staff, and we're in year 2 of that plan now in terms of developing teachers, building programs, building capacity, refining skills like IEP writing and things like that.
I'll say this, it was a tad dry reading.
Yeah.
That,
I'm sure you're thankful I didn't get up and present that report.
I would just like to echo, if you have not gotten an opportunity to go to a unified sports bocce event, I highly, highly recommend it. It is as loud and exciting as any sporting event in the district. And it is truly, you see true joy. So if you get an opportunity, please take advantage of that because it is a lot of fun. And I give a lot of credit to our overall student body because they really, really get behind the kids and push them to do well. So highly recommend it.
Thank you, Doctor Hoyt. I appreciate that. And my last item is actually it's a new agency for us. They are not a new agency, but it's a new agency that we're doing a contract with the Delta T Group. So you see I bring a variety of contracts onto the agendas over the course of the school year for a variety of services that we need to fulfill for our special education students, like occupational therapy, physical therapy, behavioral support, and things like that. Traditionally, we've utilized 2 agencies for our physical therapist. We have students for whom have such significant physical impairments that they require physical therapy in their individualized education plan. We've used 2 agencies. The person that we had on board from one of the agencies left a little while back. And they have not been able to provide us a candidate to fulfill that position. As you can imagine, time is of the essence because each day goes by that we don't have a physical therapist. That means a student isn't getting that service. So we reached out to Delta T. Like I said, they've been around a while historically. I know other districts have used them. I don't know if anybody's, in the county is currently using them. But they were able to provide us with a candidate that was acceptable to us. And so we're bringing them on board to provide that physical therapy service. Hopefully it will be successful and will work out and we will be able to continue that relationship there as well. I will continue to renew those other contracts as sort of agreements that if something should fall through with this one and I need to go back to one of those, you've seen me do that before historically as well, that we have that flexibility to ensure that there aren't any gaps in service for our kiddos. This company does provide other services like the other companies do as well, like that BCBA support, occupational therapy, et cetera.
Mrs. Harris, I was going to ask you, so on the rate sheet that they have here, they list other professional positions beyond a physical therapist. Is the intention really only to use Delta T for physical therapy, or will we also entertain some of these other positions they mentioned, like school nurse, teacher, certified and non-certified, paraprofessional, instructional aide? Will those also be something that we utilize Delta T for?
Not right in this moment,
Okay.
but potentially in the future.
Okay.
So one of the things that's really important, I think I've said this before, is you get a person in from an agency and they become like one of your employees because they build those relationships with the staff, the teachers that they're working with, the families, and so on and so forth. So for that reason, you don't want to keep hopping around between agencies. You want to, when you have a good relationship, a good staff person coming in, you want to stick with that. But you have also heard me talk about the real struggle in filling a lot of these positions, inconsistency, particularly after COVID. It's been, staffing struggles are across the board, not just in special education. So we're going to approve the whole contract in the event that, for example, I need, pick something, an RN school nurse, and we advertise and I can't get that filled. And obviously, it's time is of the essence. I would reach out to Delta T and say, can you fill this for us?
And then in that regard, is there any, and I maybe rely on Sharon for this, but is there anything prohibiting us from hiring those individuals full-time instead of a contractor position from Delta
the
T?
agency?
Right.
Yes,
I can answer that. Go
There
ahead.
typically is, if you happen to like a specific individual,
Sure.
there's usually a year and a half, 2 year.
It
Okay.
depends on the agency. I've seen it as little as 6 months in the past, but some of them are up to 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And I have been in that situation before where I've found a candidate and sometimes the agencies will work with you,
Yeah,
but post-COVID, not so much because
Yeah.
they're in the same race that we are for candidates.
sure. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at it more from our, standpoint. Obviously, it'd be cheaper for us probably to pay the individual, bring them on as full-time staff and.
It depends. That depends on the position. Yeah,
Sure.
sometimes
Okay.
it's not. And so if a person has to travel across buildings, if we were staffing it ourselves, we might need to provide actually more staff to be able to do that because we would have to give a planning time per the CBA
Oh,
and
okay.
those kinds of
Oh,
things.
that darn CBA.
That's CBA.
Unreal.
So
Okay.
in some instances, if we did it in-house, we would actually have to have more staff in order to be able to do it, if that
Okay,
makes sense.
thank you.
But that is something that we do evaluate. We did that a number of years ago. The board had come to us with, you keep hiring for speech therapists. Do you need more speech therapists? And at the time we didn't. And then about a year or so later, we were like, we have a lot of speech kids and we need to hire and bring somebody on. So that is something that we do evaluate.
That's part of our student services budgeting process each year. We look at all of those positions and say, are we at the point where we would be better off financially bringing this in-house, or are we still doing okay the way we're doing it? And are we providing consistent service for kiddos?
Any other questions for Mrs. Harris? Okay, thank you very much. And Mrs. Schaefer, that concludes my report, so we'll be moving ahead items B through H for the next meeting.
Duly noted. Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Mr. Mill, would you please cover Finance and Audit Committee?
Yes, it would be my pleasure. We are going to move on to item A, which is a 2026-27 budget update.
Thank you. So we're going to bring up our presentation. As you've heard me say over the last couple of years, building a school district budget is extremely difficult because the business administrator and administration have to build this on assumptions. What revenue is going to look like from your community? What is it going to look like from the state? What is it going to look like from the federal government? At this time, we know that the funding from the federal government has decreased. We are uncertain about what funding from the state is going to look like. As you recall, the budget this year was extremely delayed. As a result of that, there were financial implications to the district and the result of money lost because of interest that potentially would have been gained. And so those are all things that pose significant challenges to the district. In addition to the fact that we have maintenance contracts that we have to renew, we have building projects that we need to stay on top of, we have insurance that goes up, and of course, then you have the factor of utilities. So all of those things have to be built into your budget and predicted for the course of an entire year, which can be, again, extremely challenging, especially when there are so many unknowns through this process. So if we could go to the first slide. So even in the last month since we've done this presentation, you can see that there has been a change in the anticipated expenditures and revenues. Over the last several years, the district has worked extremely hard to ensure that we have a balanced budget. What that means is that we are no longer taking from our fund balance to balance that budget or decrease the amount of taxes or the increase in the taxes, which again presents a challenge because we don't want to raise taxes, but this is the mechanism that we have, or the way that we have, to raise revenue for the school districts in the state of Pennsylvania. So you can see that expenditures in March compared to expenditures in April, and you can see that there has been a decrease. In revenue, you can see where we were in March and where we anticipate we are right now in April. Again, this is a very fluid situation, and you can see that that has increased. So again, that's trending on the positive side, but I will warn you that that does not mean that we are, not proposing a tax increase. So if we could go to the next slide and we can show you how we are getting there. So as you can see, we've posted where we are trending as far as salaries in a school district. We are a significant employer of the community, and our product is our students. We don't have anything to sell to raise revenue, but we provide an extremely important service to our community by educating our children. In order to do that, it takes a lot of people. So we have teachers, we have support staff, we have our bus drivers, and everything in between, food services. So it takes, again, a lot of people to provide a service to this community. So as you can expect, salaries and benefits are going to be the driving factors in your budget. And you can see, just like any budget, that has gone up because we have contracts that we've negotiated in good faith that include salary increases. And so that's where you can see the increases since 2022, 2023. You can see that incrementally going up. Going to the next slide. Benefits is, again, a huge driving factor for us. School districts, not unlike the private sector, have been hit hard by the increased cost in insurance. Exeter is at over $28 million as far as our benefits, and that is a fluctuating expense. We don't have a guaranteed number at this time because we are part of the health trust, and the health trust is working from a deficit, and they are trying to do their very best to get some of these costs under control and give the school districts who participate in the trust a solid number as far as an increase. So go to the next slide. So this is where we get into some more of the weeds of the budget. We did broad categories. You'll recall a number of years ago, we basically restructured our debt service. We did that for a number of reasons. One, to lower what our debt service was, because that was a significant amount of money that we were paying for our debt. But we did it with the intention of embarking in close to $30 million in capital projects, which Mr. Fiddler mentioned earlier that needed to be done because of the much needed repair to mechanicals and buildings. And that is our responsibility as a community to maintain our buildings.
Sorry, one quick question, and maybe Mr. Fike can answer this. What caused our debt service to drop down by about $200,000 this past budget year? Or this, I should say, this current budget year? Do you know?
We paid off the existing leases, one of the existing leases. We had leased Chromebooks for 5 years prior to that, and that was paid off.
Oh, and that goes towards the debt service?
Correct.
Okay.
Leases and debt service are, for
In the
accounting
same
purposes,
category?
same category.
Okay, thank you.
If we could go to the next slide. Okay, so this area here, you can see that has had a significant increase as far as the total, and that is as a result of maintenance contracts. All of those services have increased. I don't know, Brian, if you wanted to further explain what that means.
Well, I guess we can go down to the decrease in 22-23 because we started maintaining buildings and putting in all new mechanicals. But to maintain those mechanicals, we have to have service contracts. We have to have maintenance contracts. We do not have our own electricians. We do not have our own plumbers. We constantly have toilets breaking, faucets needing repair, things like that. We can do minor, but we can't do major. Sewer clogs, and we're having a lot of those lately. Those types of things we have to bring in outside contractors. And as the board knows, every year we talk about Johnson Controls and the other maintenance contracts we have to maintain the systems. They keep on going up.
You can go to the next.
Yep.
Go to the next slide. Again, you can see that this category had a bit of a spike. And again, the driving factors for this category is fuel and electric. I think we're all hopeful that fuel prices will go back down, but that is not something that we can bank on. So again, Brian is building the budget based on what numbers currently are. And as we know, electric is set to also increase. So you can go back up or go to the next slide. This is our professional services. It's a minimal increase here. That's an area that has stayed relatively flat. Next slide. Purchase services, again, water is a hot topic here in Exeter. All of our buildings are in Exeter and do use Pennsylvania American Water. This is the only building that is not in Pennsylvania American Water. So the increase that we're expecting right now is about $48,000 just for water. And you can see just in general, that has significantly increased that category.
Other things in that category are like trash removal, porta potties. I think porta potties now at $110, $120 a month, where they used to be less than $100. So a lot of those things just increased.
Mr. Fike, where do we have all our porta potties?
I can ask. outside the fields for the weekends when the buildings aren't open.
Thank you.
Okay, glad we clarified that. Next slide. Okay, and then this is something that the board had approved a while back. Just to kind of remind you how transportation works. Obviously, Exeter runs its own transportation. The district several times has done an evaluation of transportation and what it would look to outsource it. Each time it has come back that it is cheaper for the district to run its own transportation. And so we went ahead and rebuilt our bus garage so we had an adequate facility for our staff and to maintain the buses. When you maintain your own buses from the state, you get money back. But that is basically tiered, and it's based on the miles and age of your buses. Obviously, we also want our buses to be safe. As part of transportation costs, you have to look at your buses and the wear and tear, its age, and then you need to replace them. So you're constantly in some type of cycle of either leasing buses, buying buses, selling buses, using buses for parts. And so the district, to try and spread out some of these costs because buses are expensive, you had approved a lease with the intent to buy. And so now we're at the point where we were buying buses, so this was a planned purchase that we knew was going to be coming up. So that's part of the spike in that category. Ryan, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, it comes out to every 50 year where you have to pay for another bus. We have, I think, 44 bus runs, so we have maybe 48 total buses. As Dr. Holler said, we get a certain percentage back from the state for buses up to 10 years old. At 11 years, they only give us 80% of that, so we might get 58% of our operating costs when students are on the bus. And I say students are on the bus. They actually we have to track miles that a student is on the bus. So some people ask, well, why do you pick them up here instead of going out the other end and bring them that way? Because we don't get reimbursement for the miles when the student's not in the bus. So you want the shortest distance to the first student until they get to school. They call it deadhead miles when there's no one on the bus, but we try to maximize the amount we get back from the state. But they pay that amount up to 10 years. At 11 years, they only pay 80% of it, 12 years, 60, and it goes down to 0 at 15. The sweet spot is to start looking at replacing buses at 12 to 13 years old. So if you're looking at 45, 46 buses, every year you're looking at 3 buses, and every 5th year you're looking at 4. So, and a bus after discounts is about $140,000, and that's where your increase is here. Next year that'll go down, but in 4 years from now, it'll go back up another 140.
If we go to the next slide. So when we were working on this slide, we were like, that's $1 billion. But when you start to look at 2021 all the way through 2026, what this number actually represents is the amount of taxable properties here in the school district. And you can see that number has steadily decreased, and that decrease has represented a loss of funding for the district. That number we actually just changed it to represent $2.5 million over the last, since 2021. But I don't know why that didn't change on this slide. But it's actually been a decrease of $2.5 million since 2021, that a revenue that the school district has lost. And it's been a result of the loss of assessments because of people going in for reassessments, mostly commercial businesses that are within the school district boundary. I think it's important to note with this slide, this is part of the reason why so many of us have gone to Harrisburg to advocate for some type of changing to how we fund schools. Unfortunately for all of you, for administration, raising taxes is the only way that we can meet our expenditures when expenditures are going up. The district has been working to keep, oh, there we go. Thank you, Sheldon.
The refresh
Yep.
refresh does it. All right.
The district has been working very hard to try and lower costs, and we've been doing that through not filling of positions. Because again, if you recall one of the first slides that I said, salary and benefits are the driving factors of our budget because we're a service industry. And so, again, this slide highlights the struggle of a suburban district like Exeter, where it's mostly homeowners that are funding the school districts. And that's hard, especially when you have so many people that don't have kids in the school system anymore and are senior citizens. So we understand that, and as Josh pointed out, he's a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer. We are trying very hard to control these costs, and for those who are watching this presentation, either live or viewing it as it's being recorded, I would encourage you to reach out to your state legislator to ask for some type of change because we certainly are on your behalf as well. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this particular slide? Okay, go to the next slide. So the one bright spot that is the reason why our revenue has gone up is because the earned income tax came in surprisingly higher than what was anticipated. So that, of course, was extremely helpful to the budget. So you go to the next slide. So what does this mean? So again, we are still looking at a shortfall of almost $2 million. When we did this presentation in March, again, we were looking at a 4.1% increase. If we were asking for you to vote on this budget and this budget passed today, we would be asking you to vote on a 3.6% increase, which for the average homeowner is about $12.06 a month, and that's based on the current average residential assessments of homes here in Exeter. So that is where we are. And again, just a reminder of the budget timeline that we are still working through the budget. You will need to adopt a budget by May 31st. The state requires that school districts adopt one by June 30th, which is also the state's timeline, which apparently they don't abide by. And has, significant implications for school districts when they don't pass their budget. So hopefully they've heard from enough school districts, board members, taxpayers about the difficult position they put everyone in by not doing their job and adopting a budget by June 30th last year. So at this time, does anybody have any questions, comments?
I have a question. Are we still number 3 in the county in terms of school taxes?
We had dropped down to number 4, but I do believe last year we went back up to number 3. I'm not sure where we will be next year. I do think that the millage is deceptive because the millage doesn't necessarily translate into how high people's taxes are. So, another district could have a lower millage, but that millage means that they're collecting more because their home assessment may be higher. And so there could be a homeowner in another part of the county, their millage could be, lower, but their taxes could be substantially higher than a homeowner here in Exeter. So again, millage can be, Sharon shaking her head is very deceptive.
Okay, thank you.
I had some questions here, if you guys can bear with me. With the recent credit downgrade that we did have, is this proposed budget, are we, with the current revenue that we're talking about here, or the shortfall that we're trying to make up, are we putting any money back into the general fund with this budget?
Only if we come in under budget, and, I'm sorry, only if we come in under budget. I'm not budgeting for a surplus to be put back in the general fund.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the credit downgrade. You know, they didn't like that our fund balance dropped, but they also said they realized that the state limits us to 8% fund balance.
Yeah.
What they're basically saying, we should go over that. I have a problem with trying to inflate an fund balance or commit, like other districts, they were starting to commit funds to projects that they never did. We committed funds for projects we were going to do, like the turf field replacement, this book replacement. If you try to put funds away that you're not going to use, you can have a taxpayer group sue you like Lower Merion did. And they won, and they had to send back money to every single taxpayer for how many years?
Yep.
Because they were putting committed funds to something they weren't going to use, just trying to up their credit rating. So it's
not a
I don't like
permissible
being
practice.
judged that way
Yeah.
because we got state laws that we have to stay to under the 8%.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking is whatever the percentage increase that we're looking at here, more so interested in knowing would it be advisable to, instead of 3.6, make it 3.75 in order to backfill some of the fund balance. That's kind of where I was going with that question, just trying to understand.
I don't think it's going to make a difference in S&P because they're comparing us to schools that are in their state and don't have the restrictions that our state has restrictions. When you look at an 8% fund balance, that's only 22 days of bills.
Sure, yeah.
It's yeah.
When it comes to the state revenue that we're projecting, can you tell us what you're using, Mr. Fike, versus what Shapiro has proposed? Do you have that?
I'm actually using 100% of the adequacy and 100% of the tax equity.
Okay.
That is something that they put in there to cover their lawsuit, when they lost the lawsuit about fair funding.
Mm-hmm.
The special ed and
Basic ed.
Basic ed is so small, I think it's ridiculous what they're giving us, like 50,000 extra in basic ed.
It's not much.
So that's really negligible.
Okay.
But I am using the adequacy and the tax equity, and I would say 70% of districts in the state are using 100% of that too, that get it. And what we're hearing is that is the portion that definitely will be refunded because they have to for the fair funding lawsuit. And it's going to take forever to get to the point they need to, but it's sort of like when they fix the pension system. It's going to take 30 years to fix it, but that was their fix and they're not going to change it.
Sure.
Yep.
There were a couple things I had asked for just in terms of property revenue coming from particular properties that you were able to get to me. One was the building on Hearthstone Court, which is the former Customers Bank that was recently purchased by the Township. So my understanding is the revenue that was coming into us from that building when it was commercial was $46,364 every year.
Correct.
So that will fall off now. That is now municipal owned property.
In 2026, 7 year. Yep.
Yeah, in next budget.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing I had inquired about was the TIF. We know that the TIF expires in December 2027. I don't know if that affects or goes into next budget year or not, or if it's the following budget year, but
That would be a 27-28 budget year.
Yeah, so the
Correct.
next one, but just forward looking at that, when that does expire, we'd be looking at an additional $136,000 in revenue coming directly to the district then, instead of paying for the road improvements.
Correct,
Yeah.
as long as they don't go in for reassessment.
I'm sure they won't do that. Okay, and then more so just some things centered around the healthcare. Obviously, the situation at Berks Health Trust is obviously fluid. Again, I saw a comment again today, unfortunately, and I reiterated this last time, that there is a rumor that goes around saying that staff does not pay for the health insurance, and that is not true. The staff does pay for health insurance here, and I think if you look at any private enterprise, the majority or the bulk of the health insurance premium is typically paid for by the employer, and then the employee pays the other part, whether that's 75-25 split, 80-20, depending on wherever that is. But that is typically how you see health insurance covered. Our staff here is paying health insurance.
Professional staff right now pays 14%
Okay.
of the premium, and the first $700 per person
For
as deductible,
deductible, yep. And then there's co-pays, obviously, that are
depending on the procedures. Yeah.
depending on the procedure. Has the health trust, it's kind of, depending on who you talk to, they may say this is a rich plan that employees have for the school district. Unfortunately, I don't think the employees can do much about that. They're kind of locked into what the health trust is offering in terms of plans go. So I guess my question is, what is the health trust, or have they done anything to try to diversify the types of plans that they are giving to or offering to the 20 different entities that are with the Berks Health Trust?
I can say they are looking at all options right now, but any changes would be January 1st of 2027. But they also realize they have to do something.
Sure.
They understand it's not sustainable the way it is.
Yeah. And have they talked or discussed at all about increasing deductibles or co-pays or any other fees?
It's fluid right now.
And they
Okay.
have already increased co-pays and deductibles in the past.
In the past,
Yes.
yep. In terms of the percentage increase, the last we spoke about this in kind of the budget preview was 16%. Is that still kind of where things are at in terms of where the increase, or is it still kind of going different directions here?
We're budgeting for the 16% increase.
Budgeting for 16% increase. And just for more so for recognition or awareness, the last year, or I should say this current budget year, was a 10% increase.
Correct.
The year prior to that, in 2023, was a 12% increase. And the forecast that I've seen going out, another 3 years or so, look to continue to be 10 to 12% based on the forecast that they've shown so far. So I think this just emphasizes the issues that we're seeing here more, and I kind of put the onus on the Berks Health Trust. Unfortunately, I think, depending on how you look at it and how things were managed, we are seeing these large increases year over year, and it just doesn't look like there's any end in sight with the way things are going right now, unless they make some kind of drastic change over there.
And I think they realize that, and they're working because they want it sustainable. We need to have be sustainable. And the percentage increase, so you can see the proposed BCTC general fund budget, your next item on here. We already approved their budget in February. They revoked that and gave us a new budget because they were only projecting a 10% increase. Now they're projecting the 16% increase in health costs for them. So
Sure. Looking at the costs, so there's, like I mentioned, there's 20 entities that are with the Berks Health Trust, 16 school districts, there's the BCIU, the Berks EIT, and the Reading Muhlenberg Technology Center and BCTC. Out of those 20 entities that are out there, has the Berks Health Trust ever divulged, we know what the contributions are per entity, but have they ever divulged the amount of expenses or claims that are basically attributable to each of those entities?
No.
No. And I guess kind of where I'm going with that is, do we, knowing that information, and obviously that's how insurance works, we know everybody pulls their money together, but it would be interesting to know if there is a particular district or entity that's in there that is potentially claiming more than they're contributing, I guess is kind of where I'm going with that, if there has been any discussion or anything like that.
I mean, there's discussions, but, the benefit of trust, and I'm not saying one trust is better than the other, but the benefit of trusts are that if you have a bad year, you only see in a portion of that because you're sharing your risk with others, and hopefully you're not the only one having the bad year that year, or one school's the one driving all the costs. The more members you have, the greater the sharing of the high risk, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I thought in the past we were self-funded. I don't know if that's true. If in the past, before, we weren't always with the Berks Health Trust. Is that right?
Before my time.
Before your time?
I think we
Okay.
joined, 2008 or 9? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I've been here since 2008, and we were in the Berks, it was
It's
called a
been a long time then.
consortium.
Right.
Okay.
Consortium
Yes,
then.
yep. Okay. How long are the agreements that we have with the trust? Like, when did we last commit? Do you know?
It's continuing until you decide to give them notice of a year in advance, which has to be done by June 30th. I think Sharon looked into this before.
So is it an annual re-up then?
I don't recall, it's a long process it's like, it's at least a 2-year process to extricate yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you do extricate, you'd still, like any other plan, you'd still have your running claims that were incurred during your period there, but you're not billed or
Right.
to afterwards. And some of those can be up to a year time.
Gotcha. I'm almost done, I promise. When does the trust make the final decision on the budget and their contribution rate?
They're having a meeting this week, but I think, they keep on telling us it's probably not going to be to June, which the business managers are very upset because
would
we have to
imagine.
have a budget by the end of May.
Okay.
And we're all going to look bad if we don't guess it
I actually
right.
have a meeting with the Health Trust tomorrow, a virtual meeting. The rates are usually set mid-May, but like Brian said, I think they're going to push it out to June, which will affect how we proceed with our, open enrollment rates too.
Have they given a reason why they want to push it out to June? Did they think there may be some action occurring that might be able to reduce the rate?
They want to have more of a claims history. The trust actually put in a new executive director who's trying to get everything back under control.
Yes.
So they're trying to give them a little bit of time, but that's what we're told. They want a little bit more claims history to make sure, they're not over budgeting and definitely not under budgeting.
And having just been in a meeting with the Health Trust last week, myself and Brian, I don't want you to be led to believe that the Health Trust is, being complacent and doesn't understand the burden on school districts. They very much are, and I am very appreciative of all the work that they're doing. They are looking at every single piece of the trust, from the funding to the types of plans to who are affiliated with it, with Reading Hospital, the services they provide, Penn State, and even St. Luke's. So they are looking at absolutely everything to ensure that we continue to provide coverage for all of our employees that meets people's needs because they insure a lot of people, and also do it at a very the best rate that they possibly can. Unfortunately, this is not isolated to the Berks Health Trust. We've learned a lot about insurance over the last several months, and this trust is not the only one that is struggling in the state to manage claims and maintain costs. I think that is unfortunately the state of healthcare right now.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing the impact with on a broader scale in Pennsylvania with the closure of so many hospitals because of the cost, which is then also having an impact on a lot of different things. So they're working very hard and they're working as fast as they can to figure this out.
Okay. One last question. I think this is my last one. So this current year's budget was 89.3 million. Now we're looking at expenditures of 92.46 million roughly. So we're essentially looking at about an increase of expenses close to 3.2 million. Do we know, are we accounting for the 16% healthcare increase into that budget presentation that we were just showing up there?
Yes, we are.
Okay, because
That's the best numbers I have right now.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking is the benefits difference from the current year to next year is only a little over $1 million, and I know when we last spoke about this, I thought it was going to be closer to 1.7 or 1.8 million.
That's the gross number now, as you even brought out. 14% we get back from the employees.
Yeah.
And since then, we've hired different people, and the benefits change every month. We call people going from family to two-person and single person.
Yeah.
It is a third of the cost for a single person in a family.
So the 1.76 million we saw during the last presentation was the gross number, not accounting for the contributions from the employees.
Right.
Okay.
But when you look at it, that's what we pay every month, right? Last year we were paying $900,000. Now we're over $1 million per month. If you add that up, take 16%, you're at the 1.8.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And that benefits number that I mentioned, the one that's a little over $1 million, that's also including PCERS and everything else in that figure as well, right?
PCERS, yeah, right.
Okay.
And it's also the net because we're reimbursable from the states about 58% now.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yep.
I think that was everything I wanted to cover on my end. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. I do have a few things as well. Just want to be mindful that we basically have 3 meetings until we will be voting on a preliminary budget. So just want to put out there if anyone has any ideas or recommendations for anything that they wish the administration to look into to review for any type of budget cuts. Now's the time to put the thinking caps on and provide that to them so they have ample time to review. I don't believe there's any academic programs that we can eliminate. We talked last year about, orchestra, strings, band in the K through 4, maybe 5, 6. So, yeah, specifically K4. So that was not a big appetite for anyone to look at. So that would probably be where they would start if you are looking for any type of academic programs to cut. And in the spirit of fiscal responsibility, equity, and cost alignment, I would like to propose that we take a closer look into our athletics and curricular activities, specifically our activity fees that we are charging for our students. We have a flat fee model that we currently use, which is $100 for high school and $80 for the junior high. It doesn't actually reflect, though, the fiscal reality of what it costs to run our close to 67 teams and 30+ clubs that we have. With that being said, I think we do need to look at that, look at the athletic budget as well as the activity budgets, and look at more of a tiered activity fee schedule. Like, for example, a student who is in one activity per year, junior high, they're in the art club or chess club or whatever, they pay $80 for that one-time activity fee. And the overhead cost of the district is very small. Someone who plays like a sport such as wrestling in the winter, at a high school level, they pay $100. But they also have coaches that they have to pay for. There's transportation, there's uniforms, referees, there's equipment, safety reconditioning things. So, we're paying for a trainer as well. So it's not just a budget issue for me, it's also an equity issue. So I think we really need to look at that and to see how we can lower the costs for club-only students, and then possibly look to increase fees for like high resource programs to accurately offset, their specific extra costs. So, because I don't think we're actually aligning the clubs with the actual resources and the student outcomes. Because if you look at a team like tennis or a club like Honor Society, they're not equal. And I think we pay a lot of money for transportation. We pay a lot of money for coaching. So that's just my 2 cents. So I think we do need to look at that structure and increasing those costs. I do believe that, our taxpayers should not have to pay for our students to do extracurricular activities or sports. Those are choices, and the taxpayer should not, brunt that increase in their taxes. So if you want your child to participate, that's something that I think a parent, guardian, it's a household responsibility, not necessarily a taxpayer responsibility. So.
Yeah, I'll just, I'll say it's definitely, I think anything is worth looking at, just at the base level to see how much money we can put back into into the revenue in the budget. I think you may have said this already, Mrs. Schaefer, but unfortunately with the shortfalls that we face every year of, over $1 million, we can definitely take a look at activity fees and other fees that we charge, and unfortunately, we're gonna hit this every year. I'm not saying that it's not worth looking at, but unfortunately, this is a problem. I don't think we're going to be able to dig our way out of unless you're talking significant staff cuts, and even then. You might not even be in a good position in the next year. And I'm not advocating for staff cuts, trust me. I've said since I've joined this board, I am against anything that affects students, and that's kind of what I'm sticking to. So I won't be willing to cut anything that affects the education of our students.
Noted. Yeah, no, I agree. Staff cuts equal increasing class sizes, which means that we have to update our policy. So there's a lot of work that goes, into that. So I do agree. Cutting staff is really not something I'm interested in doing as well, or cutting, programs. So, essentially most boards basically say to their administration, don't cut this, don't cut that, do what you have to do within your budget. But it's our responsibility at the end of the day to approve an increase if we can't balance a budget with the 0%. So just food for thought.
From the administration's lens, we work really hard to look at enrollment. And when I say that we look at enrollment, I'm saying that we look at it weekly, all throughout the year. And we talk to our administrators about our enrollment at every single staff meeting to address where we are with staffing needs. Over the years, our class sizes have increased. Our class sizes at Riften are high. We asked the board to do the demographic study, and we were grateful that you did that, so that way we had a bigger, clearer picture of what this was going to look like for us in the future as we make staffing, if we were making staffing moves. And we use that information along with current information to project what this is going to look like. So as we've gone through, we have been systematically eliminating positions through attrition because we're not going to just go back and hire every time somebody resigns. That's not the way this administration works. So some of the cost savings that the district has realized and why there is a shortfall, part of the reason why that shortfall isn't as significant is because there has been a concentrated effort to reduce staff over the years through attrition. Otherwise, I can assure you that that shortfall would be significantly higher. As you addressed earlier, Jason, this idea, this persistent rumor that our teachers and staff don't pay anything for insurance, there tends to be a persistent rumor in this community that our buildings are also not full. And we have teachers from the high school, Jackson Wald, Riften, that I'm sure that if I asked them, they could stand up here and tell you that is absolutely false. While some of the numbers in our buildings may be lower than what they were in the early 2000s, what people don't understand and fail to account is that our special education population has increased. And if you are aware of special education law, and if you're aware of special education requirements, then you are aware that there is specific guidelines within the code that tells us exactly how much square footage that we need to have in order to educate our students here on our campuses. And for as long as myself and Mrs. Harris have the privilege of sitting in these seats, it will continue to be our belief and our mission to have as many special education programs here in Exeter, because we believe that our special education students should and have the right to be with their like peers, the kids that they grow up in their neighborhoods with. And so in order to do that, we need to have classroom space. Contrary to this persistent rumor, that is absolutely inaccurate. Our buildings are not half empty. They are very full with a lot of very happy children, and that's the way we intend to keep it.
Thank you. Anything else? We can move on to item B.
Okay, moving on. Item B, it is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the 2026-27 General Fund proposed operating budget for the Berks Career and Technology Center, BCTC. Any discussion?
As I said before, we had actually approved this back in February, but they had the lower percentage increase for their health insurance, so we're reapproving it. It's about an $8,000 increase from the February budget. And it's 1.145525 for regular ed, and special needs 95,883.
I thought I saw in there that their health increase was like only 6-something%. Is that right?
The first time, now it's 16.
Okay.
That's why they redid it.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. I
they-
was going to question how they're only getting 6%.
No, they actually put it in as what the last year was. But see, problem with BCTC and the IU, they have to give us their budgets in January because we have to approve their budgets by April. So they're guessing what the rate increases are. So they have a
So they
longer
got
period of time for guesstimates.
they got the great news from the Berks Health Trust, and now this
after
is-
they originally
okay.
put out the first one.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
I just have a comment. Are we going to see something similar from BCIU, or did they budget for 16%?
They budgeted for 16.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and we're going to move on to item C, the electric rate contract. The district's electric rate contract will expire on December 7, 2026. Auctions are the best practice for procuring the least cost energy. However, the electric rates change daily. The business administrator will hold an auction on April 22nd, 2026.
I'd like to change that to by April 22nd. The rates change daily. Last week, they were up to 0.0715. Now they're down to 0.0707. So, hopefully it'll even go down further with the price of oil going down. So I try to lock in. And I think the last time I did this, you had made a motion for the finance chair to consult with me, and then you said we didn't even need that, just give him the authority. But I just want to put this as informational, that we'll be locking in the electric rates. What I'm looking at is somewhere about 0.07 cents per kilowatt hour.
Do you recall what we're paying now, Mr. Fike? Is it close to that amount?
I think we're just under 7.
Just under, yeah. I didn't think it was that far
It
off
was
from
like
this.
0.69 something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion or questions?
If you do hold that before the 22nd, because our next meeting's on the 21st, will you provide the update?
I'll give you an update, but
Okay.
I'd rather have a buy because I can see what's each day and we can schedule for 2 days later and get the auction going.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Mrs. Schaefer, that concludes the Finance and Audit Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. Facility and Transportation Committee, Mr. Fiddler, could you handle that, please?
Sure thing. Just one item for the next meeting. It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the BCIU Transportation Agreement for extended school year for the summer of 2026. Questions? So we'll be moving that ahead for the voting meeting.
Personnel Committee, Mr. Cook, could you please?
Sure can. Thanks, Mr. Schaefer. Personnel Committee, we have items A, resignations, B, appointments, C, transfers, D, change of status, E, additional assignment, and F, leaves of absence that we would like to move to the next meeting. Any comments or questions?
I do have a question. I think it was change of status. We do have a change of status listed here for artistic support to move to a long-term substitute learning support at Rifton, which I assume is then taking over for the resignation of the learning support teacher. Is that correct, Mrs. Kornavaki? Right. Okay. And so that says effective March 24, beginning yesterday. So does that mean that Ms. McNulty is no longer the learning support teacher at Rifton?
She is currently on a leave.
Okay, all right. And also, just for clarification, there are dates from March here for resignations and other dates, so these are just kind of putting it on the record for these resignations and, okay, that's all.
All right, and one more item, item G. This is an updated job description. Dr. Heller, Ms. Harris, would you like to give any updates for that one? That'll be for the new educational assistant, secondary high school, or senior high ISS ECA Proctor.
I'm actually going to turn it over to Mrs. Skornavaki. She can talk through it.
Great, thank you.
Yes, so thank you. We currently had a resignation in that position, and whenever that happens, we kind of take a look at that job description as we're getting ready to rehire a new person on board. So we kind of work with the principals with what the job actually entails and kind of update it so that when the new person starts, they have a clear picture of what the job actually is.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions? All right, so we'll be moving items A through G.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Mr. Mel, do you have anything for policy?
I have nothing for policy unless Mrs. Harris has anything for policy. I see her shaking her head no, so I am good to go.
Okay, all right. So we have nothing for policy. No one signed up for public comment. Would anyone in the audience like to speak at this time? Okay. Let's see here. We'll be moving the following items to the voting meeting. Education, we have items B, field trips, C, junior high school social studies, 6-year license purchase, D, K through 6, 4-year math and ELA license purchase, E, Lakeside Global Institute license agreement, F, Lakeside agreement, G, special education plan, H, Delta T group agreement. Finance and audit committee, looks like the electric rate, no, we're not moving anything. Facilities and transportation, BCIU, ESY 2026 transportation agreement. Oh no, the BCIU will be moving from the budget, right? Okay. Letter B, yep. And then personnel items A through G. Are there any board members who would like to be heard at this time? Okay, our next meeting will be our voting meeting.
Mr. Fike had something?
Oh,
I was asked Mrs. Martin if she can give an update on our fight with PA.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what you want to call it, but go ahead.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, happy to. So we tried to intervene as a party, and we wanted to submit testimony and documentary evidence to the commission, and the judges, the administrative law judges, said we were not allowed to. Brian and I were scheduled to spend 3 days out in Harrisburg waiting our turn. But at the 11th hour, they decided that we weren't allowed to present our evidence. So we didn't go.
And I'm sorry, what was the reason they wouldn't allow you to present your evidence?
Well, the reason is because we entered the evidence late. And so we weren't an active party. Initially, we were what was deemed an inactive party, so that we could just sort of watch the proceedings. When we decided that we actually had evidence that we might like to submit, we did try to submit it through motion, and the court, first of all, they strung us along, and so we thought we were going until the last minute, and then they said, no, we're rejecting your submittal of evidence. So then I said, well, there's no point in going.
4:45 on Friday.
Yeah, when it was supposed
But our
to start.
evidence was put in records for the other people that were testifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, yeah.
And there has been, I will say, because I'm watching the proceedings, there has been some very, very excellent advocacy on behalf of stakeholders against these rate increases. So the interests are being well served.
All right.
For
So
what
the
it does.
Bad news, we couldn't present our evidence to help cut the rate, but we saved on attorney fees.
You definitely
All
did.
right, there we go. There's a
Yeah,
silver
and
lining.
just to let you know, I did see Representative Gillen, and I did let him know, and he was not unaware of the burden that the water is on taxpayers in Exeter, as well as the school district. And he assured me that he is very well aware of it and that they are working to try and get some resolve here for Exeter. This is not just an Exeter issue. Pennsylvania American Water is across the state buying municipal water authorities, and in every place that they've gone, they have done this.
Yep.
I believe that Bradford County has also been hit really, really hard with this.
I have one other question, since we're on, a roll here. Is there any update on the solar system?
We're ready to start in June as long as PUC gives approval. We do have an agreement with Med-Ed, so it went to PUC in December. It usually takes them 4 months, but we've already gone ahead and ordered. So usually PUC approves it based on the utility approving it.
Okay, thank you. Just curious.
Mr. Mel, when you said solar system, I thought you wanted an update on the Artemis mission, so I was,
That is that's a great point. I wasn't even putting that
yeah,
together.
made me
Yeah.
giggle a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I was wondering why I was getting strange looks. There we go.
Anyone else? Okay, so I just kind of want to make a comment or express some remorse. I just wanted to express condolences to the Walnut Town Fire and Rescue Fire Department and the Fleetwood community on the tragic loss of their fire chief, Jeff Buck, and their assistant fire chief, Robert Schick, and also thank the Exeter Township Fire Department for providing relief efforts for them. It was a very tragic line of duty death, so that is why all of our flags are at half-mast based on Governor Shapiro's request, and services will be held on Saturday, April 11th at Fleetwood High School. So just want to express condolences to the entire family. Also, our next meeting will be our voting meeting on Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 at 7 p.m. And the board will meet in executive session immediately following the meeting tonight to discuss personnel and safety matters. If there's no objections, we all adjourn the meeting. Hearing none, meeting adjourned.